are you?
I'm in Maryland.
Oh, so you're right next door. Yeah, it is hot. I guess I was just wondering, making sure you weren't like in Texas or something where it's super,
Mm-mm,
super hot. But yeah,
mm-mm.
it is hot because you're right next door to Virginia.
Yes, and I was in Virginia yesterday, Monday, Sunday and Monday.
Okay, so we are good in Zoom and we are good in YouTube. And I see you. That's you. I see you in YouTube. Okay, great. All right. So next thing I need to do is just hit record. And I have one person who are here, so I'm going to go ahead and let them in after I hit record, and then I will introduce you by name, and then you can just go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Because I try to start on time because I try to train people to be places on time. So you have to start on time. That's the only way you can train them to.
That's
Hello, good evening. I am so excited about today. Of course, we have a awesome sister leader who is going to take the floor, and I cannot wait to learn about her and what she is going to share with us. Um, of course, I am Dr. Karen Hills Pruden. I am the founder of Sister Leaders, but it is not about me today. It is about Dr. Adebola Ajao. And so, welcome. The floor is yours, Dr. Ajao.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karen. Thanks for having me. And thank you for the invitation and to the Sister Leaders community. I'm super excited to be here. And I'm just going to introduce myself so you get to know me a little bit, and then we'll dive right into the topic of today. So, again, my name is Dr. Adebola Ajao. I'm a practicing epidemiologist, and a lot of people don't know what that is. And I tell people it's pretty much the scientists that study disease distribution. And I've been practicing epidemiology for over 20 years. I've been in public health and public service. And in the last 10 years, I've been more in the pharmacoepi space, which means the study of drug safety. So, working at a very prestigious federal agency, doing very important public health work. And in addition to that, I am an author. I published my first book in 2021 during COVID. If you all remember how COVID was, we were all in the house, and I spent that time writing my first book. And the title of that book is Empowered Woman: 5 Principles for Living Your Best Life and Fulfilling Your Potential. So when I do speak, I do some speaking, and when I do speak, I speak about the 5 principles in my book, and I would go a little bit into that in a minute. I'm also a personal leadership coach. I'm a wife, and I'm a mother of 3 school-age children. So probably like many of you, it's a juggling that professional career and family responsibilities. In addition to that, I'm the founder of Empowering Initiatives, and this is an organization that I founded after I wrote my book. And it's an organization with a mission to empower and equip professional women to identify their passion, walk in their purpose, maximize their impact through personal development and personal leadership so that they can fulfill their highest potential through service. So that's the nutshell about me. And I really want to give kudos to Dr. Karen because I met Dr. Karen a few months ago. And Dr. Karen is an example of one of the mentors that I'm looking for. When I met her at an event, and a women empowerment event, she was one of the many speakers on stage, but her message about empowering women and increasing women in leadership really resonated with me. And that's how I connected with Dr. Karen. And then she's been the mentor that I didn't even envision, really embracing me and really creating opportunities for me. And so I just want to appreciate you, Dr. Karen. So, on that note, the title of my talk today is Aligning Your Purpose with Your Inner Strength to Maximize Your Impact. Because I truly believe that we are all created on purpose for a purpose to execute a purpose. And it's only when we identify what our purpose is do we start thriving? If we don't figure out what our purpose is by identifying all our strengths and maximizing it, we would be merely existing and not maximizing our fullest potential. So, just to tell you a little bit about myself, how did I get to this space? How did I get here? And who am I? Why am I talking about this? And what experience brought me here? So, I'll tell you a little bit about that, and I'll step into some of the lessons that I've learned through my experience. And then I will give you some tools that are aligned with some of the principles in my book. So, I, just like all of you, is a wife and a mother and a professional woman. And I first came to this country many, many years ago as a teenager from Nigeria. And I navigated college and graduate school, getting married and having kids in a foreign country. Got my dream job at this federal agency. Many years into this job, I got into a space where I felt like I was constantly stretching to feel my impact. Mind you, I am in public health and I'm in public service. And those two things feels like you should always feel like you're impacting the world, which I was, but I did not feel it because I got to a point where, work just became a day-to-day routine. And most of what I was doing was, it felt like I was having to stretch continuously to be heard, to be seen, and to feel my impact. And so during that phase of my life, I was really looking for mentorship. And throughout my professional career, my mentors have been men. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm super grateful for all of these men that have mentored me through my graduate program and through my career. But when you become a wife and a mother and you're trying to navigate career growth, it's a different conversation. And we have a different set of challenges, especially as a minority woman in science. I really felt like I was not seen or heard. At that point in my journey, I really was looking for a female mentor, which proved really difficult to find. I had a really tough time finding it. I did find one, but I have to tell you that particular one that I found at the time was very toxic. And, when I went into her mentoring space, it was all about how the system didn't work. It was very negative, not what I was looking for. So I quickly exited that relationship, and I realized that I have to pause and figure out, how do I do this differently? Because whatever I was doing wasn't working. The one lesson that I learned through that pause is that it is okay. We all get to a point in life where we feel stuck or we feel stagnant, because the top of one mountain is usually the bottom of another mountain. We have to realize that it's not about the pause, it's about what we do in the pause. And I truly believe that the pause is really our internal compass to pivot in a new direction. We have to think of, anytime we feel stuck, we have to go to a place of reflection and say, what's really going on? Is it time for me to pivot? Have I reached the top of what I'm doing now? And is it time for me to pivot in another direction? So that was my lesson in the pause, that I had to stop and I had to think about, how do I pivot and where do I pivot? And I think another learn is that you really have to embrace this pause, because there's purpose in it. There's purpose in it in the sense that this is the time where we really have to discover who we are in the moment. What are our strengths and what are our next steps? And so I think it's really important. So in my self-development journey, because I was looking for that mentorship and I couldn't find it, I almost went within and went on a journey, a self-development journey, where I had to discover myself. And I think one thing that's important is that people don't realize at times that there are a lot of not easily identified gifts that we have. I truly believe every single one of us is gifted in very special ways. And we just really need to take the time to identify those gifts. And I'm going to talk later on about not just identifying the gift, but how do we use those gifts to serve? How do we identify who to serve and how to serve? So for me, I'm just going to give you a few examples of some gifts that I discovered in myself during this journey. And one of those gifts is that I'm ambitious. I really like to grow. I'm somebody who likes to grow and somebody who likes to achieve. And so when I got to that point where I felt like I wasn't achieving anymore, when I felt stagnant, I use that word stagnant, it was my time to pivot in a different direction. So ambitious was one of the things that I learned about myself. I always needed to grow. Emotionally intelligent was another thing that I learned about myself. In fact, one of my male mentors used to use that word for me even before I knew what that word meant. I remember he would always say, Adebola, you are emotionally intelligent. And I didn't even understand what that meant until many years later, when I realized that I am someone that can read people's feelings. I'm empathetic. I understand the feelings of people around me. And I really like to relate to other people. I'm receptive and I can relate to other people's emotions. So both emotionally intelligent and empathetic with some of the qualities I discovered in myself. Another quality I discovered in myself was that I was a good communicator and I was a good listener. I'm somebody who I'm that friend that everybody comes to and talk about, you know, what's going on in their life. I was a good listener, and I really am able to communicate what I'm feeling to others in a way that they can understand it. Another gift that I recognized in myself was that I'm nurturing. I love to work with people. I like to mentor. So I say all of this to say I had to go on that journey to discover all of those. And what I discovered about myself is that these are the qualities of a leader. And so instead of me being an individual contributor in this organization that I've been in for 5 years, maybe I need to pivot into leadership positions. So that was kind of what I learned through my journey, that it was time for me to start to take on leadership positions, not just be on a team, but start leading a team, not just be on a project, but start leading a project. And, not to say it wasn't fearful, and I would get to fear in a bit. It was very fearful, but what I did realize through that journey is that if I don't step into those fears, I was never going to really move to that next level, and I was never really going to maximize my potential and eventually feel fulfilled. So in all of that, I say all of that to say we have to embrace the pause. We have to really go in and reflect. We have to identify our gifts, because I really believe that our purpose is tied to our gifts. And our purpose is tied to a gift and serving with those gifts. So purpose is passion plus service. All of the gifts that we have wrapped up, and how do we use it to serve? That's where our purpose lies. And so I just wanted to take a moment to maybe give a few definitions about what's purpose. Purpose is really in us. Who we're meant to be is already in us. So our purpose, when we think of purpose, it's such a big word. It gets thrown around. What's your purpose? What's your purpose? But ultimately, the way I've broken it down is that your purpose is already in you. It's already who you are. It's why you were created. It's why you exist. And you can think of it in other terms, like it's your ambition, it's your dream, it's your goal, it's your objective. And if we're able to understand what our purpose is by identifying our gifts and using it to serve, we are more likely to thrive. We are more likely to maximize our potential. We're more likely to succeed. And most importantly, we're more likely to have impact and have a satisfying life and ultimately find fulfillment. So I do believe everybody's gifted. If you're a Christian, you know that parable of the talents where Jesus gifted different people different gifts, and we all have different gifts, and we're all going to be accountable for those gifts. So it is really important that we discover our talents and we discover our gifts. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of gifts that are easily recognized. And so, say, for example, you're a creative, right? You're a singer, you're an actor, you're a photographer, you're a designer. those are easily recognized gifts. And we have a lot of people in our communities who are those things. Another example is if you're an athlete, right? If you're a swimmer, football player, basketball player, those are easily recognized. But a lot of us, like me, I didn't have any of those gifts. I was not creative in any way. And so it was really important to start to understand the gifts that are not as easily recognized. I gave some examples earlier when I was talking about the gifts that I identified in myself. Um, some other examples is communication. Some people are good communicator, and I said I'm a good communicator and I'm a good listener. Other examples are critical thinking, and other examples are problem solving, or being an extrovert, who's somebody who's able to network very easily. So we really have to really embrace that pause and really discover who we are, because ultimately, like I said, our passion, our purpose lies within our gift and what we do with it. So just to take a moment, for those on that are listening, whether you're on Zoom, um, ways to identify your passion. I'm just going to throw out a few questions, and you can jot them down. You can jot them down to just get started on how do I really identify my gifts and my talents. Think about what people say you're good at. What do people say about you? What do they say that you're really good at? Also, what activities do you enjoy? If Even if you're not getting paid for it, what is it that you would do forever? You just enjoy, and you do it so effortlessly. What are those things that you're passionate about? And what are the talents that you admire in others? Because truly, when we admire talent in other people, it's usually because we have it in us, but we haven't tapped into it. We haven't tapped into those talents. So I think it's really important to, ask ourselves this question: if I could not fail, what would I be doing? And this type of questions really help to get within us to really pull out those gifts, especially those ones that are not easily recognized. So I just wanted to leave you with some of those questions around discovering your gifts. Another is, your experience and your skills. So you've been around for a while. So there are things that you've accumulated over time. So what skills have you acquired over time? What experiences do you have? What advice or guidance do you give to other people? You know, and what would you like to contribute to this world? Challenges are another thing. A lot of people, you will hear a lot of people found their passion through the challenges that they've been through. And, just like I was telling you earlier when I was trying to set the stage with my story, that I was having trouble finding a mentor, and I was feeling stuck. That was the challenge that I had, and why I had to go on my personal development journey. And if you hear other people's stories, there's usually some kind of challenge that they went through, and discovered their purpose through that challenge. So what challenges have you overcome? What are those? What has that challenge taught you? And how could you use that challenge to serve other people? So think about all of those things about your gifts, your talents, your skills, your challenges, and really reflecting on all of those talents and gifts and strengths and skills, and really is the foundation for finding our purpose. Order them from strongest to weakest. Figure out like where what are you really good at, and really begin to discover opportunities that align with your gifts. I think it's important to know that in order for us to maximize our potential, we really need to lean into our gifts. We really need to master our gifts. If you are trying to maximize your potential and you're trying to work on your weaknesses, you're only going to get better. But if you tap into your gifts and you lean into it and you master it, that is really where the biggest gain is. That is where you can really maximize your potential. So it's very important that we identify opportunities that align with our gifts by asking ourselves a few questions like, how can I serve with this gift? In my situation, I realized that I had leadership qualities. And so how can I serve with my leadership qualities? And I started to take on leadership positions in my profession. And not only am I still doing public health and public service, I'm still in the same organization, but now I'm serving a group of serving my team members, right? I want to make sure that my team members are heard, that my team members feel valued. I'm mentoring those younger scientists in my organization, and that fulfills me, right? It's part of my purpose. So I think it's really important to figure out how you can serve with those gifts and who you can serve with those gifts and where you can serve with those gifts and when you can serve with those gifts. So just to kind of wrap up that part, it is important to align your career, your business, what your volunteer work, your nonprofit, whatever it is you're doing with your gift, because that's where the biggest gains lie. So I'm going to shift direction a little bit and talk about, once you have discovered all of that and you figured out where you're going with it, there's still a lot of challenges that lie ahead, especially with our mindset. And what I realized, even when I feel like I discovered where my new pivot, my new direction was, I realized there was a lot of fear that came with that. And I have to step into those fears. I have to first acknowledge them and then step into them in order to conquer them. So, even though I had been, I got a doctoral degree and I'd been working in these organizations and doing all this important work, I had never been in a room where they talked about mindset. Mindset was not something that was discussed in my professional space. And it wasn't until I wrote my book and I was, trying to put it on Amazon. I was trying to figure out this whole entrepreneur thing. And I started to, go on a lot of trainings and talking to a lot of coaches that I started to learn about mindset and realized that in order for us to win the war against the world, we need to first win the war against our mind, because there's a lot of fear that locks in our mind and that prevents us from moving to our next level and maximize our potential. So in order for us to pivot, to get unstuck and pivot in that new direction, we need to shift our mindset. And we need to shift our mindset by shifting our thought processes and shifting our belief systems. So I'm going to give you some tools that I have in my book, but I practice every day, and I really think these tools are so important in shifting our mindset to get to that next level that we're trying to go. One of the principles in my book is thinking big. The two principles that I put under shifting your mindset is thinking big and facing your fears. And I'm going to break them down a little bit because I feel like these words sometimes they just feel abstract, right? And I think it's really important to break them down and really give ourselves tools that we can use to actually actualize these principles. So thinking big, let's start with that. Thinking big is really our ability to stretch our mind. If you think about it, we have this big goal that we want to reach. And so we have to be able to stretch our mind and set our sight on this ambitious goals. We have to make that ambitious, audacious goal, whatever it is. We have to set that goal for ourselves, and we have to be able to think that and believe that we can achieve it. And, thinking big I think it's a learnable skill. I think it's a learnable skill, and I believe that there are some tools that we can use to think big and to really start to shift our mindset towards believing that we can achieve whatever goals we set for ourselves. And so a few tools that I'm going to leave with you, one of them is that you just have to believe in yourself. Because you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you. You have to start with you. You have to believe in yourself. And you do have to trust that you have the confidence and you have the abilities to achieve your goal. A lot of times with this, with this, we don't have to know if we can do it. We just have to believe that we can do it. We just have to believe that we can do it. And then we have to have faith that we can do it. So this future self that we have created for ourselves in this goal that we've set, we have to really believe that we really have to have the faith in this future self. And so one of the ways that I did that for myself when I was writing my book, for example, was I thought about all the things that I've achieved already. I thought about the fact that I got this doctoral degree. I have this 3 children, raising this, I've done some big things. And for me, I needed to go back to that space and say, I've done these things. So guess what? I can do these other things, right? So that was the way that I actualized my faith, because I realized that I've done this other big things. So these other big things that are lie ahead of me, I have the faith that I can do it. And another tool that's really useful is visualization. So once you believe in yourself and you believe that you can do, you have faith because you've taking stock of some of the other things, other big things you've done in life, guess what? You have to start to visualize yourself. So, for example, for me, I want to be a big speaker on a big stage. I visualize myself on that big stage in that big room with a lot of people in the room. I have to begin to see myself as that. So, you have to do the same for yourself. Whatever your goal is, when you write that goal down, that big, audacious goal that you have to start to visualize yourself in that future state. And I think that's really important. Visualization as well as documenting it, writing down our goal. Our goal cannot just be in our head, right? We have to write it down, maybe on a vision board. We have to cut out all the things that make it come to life for us so we can visualize it. So I think it's really important, that documentation. And the documentation really allows us to have clarity. It brings clarity to this goal that we have. And it also gives us accountability because we've written it down and we have a timeline attached to it. So guess what? We have something to be accountable to. And it really does etch it in our memory. So, visualizing it, documenting it. Some examples that I gave is, vision board. You can use vision board. You can write in your journal. You can sketch your goals out, checklist, roadmap, whatever you want to use, however way you want to do it. There are many tools out there that you can use to make sure that this your goal is not just in your head, it's down somewhere and you can begin to visualize it. Another important tool that I think is important when we think big is that we need to really change our circle of influence, because you are the average of who you hang around with. So you need to surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. That's why I'm associated with Dr. Karen, because she's doing what I want to do. So guess what? I'm changing my circle to be around the women of influence that are doing the things that I want to do. So that's very important, because these people will lift you up. These people will hold you accountable, and these people will give you opportunity for visibility, and they would support you. They'll give you the tools. They will tell you how they've done it, and you can learn from them. So I think it's really important that you do that. So one of the things you can start doing right now is you can write down a couple of individuals in your network, or a couple of individuals that you've seen. They might not even be in your network right now. Just write down a couple of individuals maybe you see online, maybe you see in your professional space, maybe you see in your business space that you're like, I want that person in my circle. Write them down and start to cultivate a relationship with those people. So I think that's really important. It's not just word of mouth. You're not just going to say it. You're going to start doing it. You're going to start showing up in those spaces where those people are. And, you're going to start to create that network of that supported network of people that are doing what you want to do. So those are a few tools that I've given you for thinking big. I'm going to step into the next principle, which is conquering your fears. This one is really big for me because this is probably my favorite principle in my book, because this is the one that I struggle with the most. And I think this is the one that a lot of people struggle with, actually, with, this whole thing called fear. And I have this quote in my book that says, the only thing to fear is fear itself. That's Franklin Roosevelt. If you don't do what you're supposed to do and you let fear stop you, well, guess what? You're never going to get to that place. You're never going to maximize your potential. And there are many different types of fears, right? There's fear of rejection, there's fear of failure. A lot of us have some of it, a lot of us all of it. When I wanted to write my book, I had serious fear of rejection. And I'm saying this, I keep using my book as an example because I didn't know anybody around me that had written a book. I did not know anybody that was an author. So I didn't really have anybody to go to. And this was COVID. So everything was shut down. All my mentors were online. I found my mentors online because we couldn't go anywhere. So this fear of rejection is real. I felt it very strongly. And I felt, who cares what I have to say? Who's going to listen to me? And I really had to acknowledge that fear and I needed to confront it and step into it in order for me to achieve what I did achieve. So I think confronting the fear is very important. And in order to confront the fear, we need to commit to our success. I think it's really important that you have to be committed. There is no success without commitment. You know, it's interesting. You see people that have achieved big things, and it seems like success is overnight. I always tell people there is no overnight success. Nobody achieved it in a day. It's about consistent small steps over time, but it starts with commitment. So it starts with commitment and then followed by consistency. So committing to your success, when that goal that you have and you've written it down, you are committed to that success. No matter what, you're going to get there. So I think that's really important, that commitment. Other synonyms for commitment is devotion, duty, obligation, like you're going to get there and you're going to do whatever it takes to get there. Some of the other tools that I've used to confront fears, and I feel like it's are really not just important, but are really effective with confronting fears, is replacing negative self-talk with positive self-talk. I'm sure I'm not alone when I say, there's that thing in our mind that says you can't do it, you're not worthy, who are you? And you need to shut those negative self-talk down. You need to replace them with positive self-talk. And I'll give a few examples, how we can, some negative self-limiting thoughts that we can replace with some positive thoughts. So, for example, you want to achieve something that's like, oh, I've never done it before. Yeah, of course you've never done it before. But guess what? It's an opportunity for you to learn something new. If you can replace, I've never done it before, I don't know how to do it, with, well, this is an opportunity for me to learn something new. It's too complicated. I don't have the resources. We'd say that a lot, right? Especially when we want to grow and we need to put resources into our growth, right? Because we need to take some classes, we need to, find a coach, we need to do all these different things. And we say, we don't have the resources. Well, maybe you can move some resources around. Maybe I can re-examine my budget. Maybe I can move some resources around. It's too complicated. Maybe I can tackle it from a different angle. So it's just different ways of replacing those things that hold us down with the positive things that are going to move us forward. Another popular example is I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time to do it. Well, guess what? You only put time into something that's a priority for you. So you can re-examine your priorities and then you can make time for the things that are important. So, those are just a few examples that I wanted to give just about replacing negative self-talk with positive self-talk. And, positive self-talk also goes with affirmations, how we have to affirm ourselves every day to tell ourselves that we're worthy, we're worth it. And, again, I used the example of my book when I was writing it, and I had to write down those positive affirmations and I had to stick them on the wall right in front in my office. Because when I get stuck and I get to that place where I was feeling kind of dejected and feeling like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do this, I don't know if I can do this, I go back to those affirmations that I can do all things if I put my mind to it, and I'm capable of achieving great things, that I'm worthy to receive all good things that the universe has for me, and that my perspective is unique and important and it counts. So those are examples of affirmations that I've used and I continue to use because it's really important to keep driving ourselves forward. Driving ourselves forward with positive affirmations to be able to achieve our goals and to be able to step into those fears. Another tool that I use is gratitude. I mean, gratitude is just feeling thankful, showing appreciations for the things that we have in our lives. Honestly, on my IG, I do Thankful Thursday. I do Thankful Thursday for a reason, because it's easy to see the things that are not working. So if you don't shift your mind to start to focus on the things that are working and the things that you have, you're always gonna be that person that's, always think they don't have enough. You have enough to get started. You don't have to be an expert to get started. You just step into it and start doing it and start being thankful for what you have and just practice it. You try it for a week, 2 weeks, practice it and say, Gratitude has a way of shifting our mindset. I particularly like gratitude, and I feel like it really changes who we are. It reshapes our perspectives. It helps us build resilience. It really boosts our self confidence. It also strengthens our relationship with friends and family, because when we start to have gratitude, guess what? We start to appreciate other people, and we start to see how how we can benefit other people and they can benefit us. So gratitude all around, improves our mental state and improves our social. It has a lot of social benefits. So I just challenge you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for every single day, and practice that for 2-3 weeks and see how your perspective starts to change, starts to shift. Another tool that I use in facing conquering my fears, and I teach about, is to focus on the process. Once we have this big goal and we focus on it, it seems so daunting. How am I going to ever achieve this goal? Right? We talked about commitment and consistency. You need to focus on the process and the daily action that you're taking to get to this goal. There's that quote that says the fastest way to get to where you're going is slowly, right? Slowly is the fastest way. You focus on the progress, you focus on the process and the progress that you're making and the reward that's waiting for you at the end. And not the obstacles. Don't focus on the obstacles. And if you see the obstacles, see them as opportunities and not obstacles. And celebrate every single win along the way. Every single win is important. When I come on Dr. Karen's podcast, that's a win for me because I get to bless 2, 3, 4, 5 people, So every single win, no matter how small, I think it's very important to celebrate them. Another one is that you really don't want to compare yourself to other people. I think a lot of people have this unhealthy competition that's going on. And we have to realize that we are all in our own lane. At work, my boss always says, stay in your swim lane, stay in your swim lane. We all have our own swim lane. We all have our purpose. We all have our gifts. You need to discover it. You need to find it. You need to lean into it. You need to maximize it. That's how you're going to get to where you're going. You need to be committed to it. You need to be consistent with it. And do not look left or do not look right. It's not about the people next to you. It's about you. So avoid competing with other people. Another mentor of mine would say, do not compete, compare, or covet. Just stay in your lane. Your only competition is yourself. Unhealthy competitions also kills collaboration because I think one of the tools that I mentioned earlier is surrounding yourself with the right people and the people that are doing what you want to do. But if you're going to compete with those people, guess what? You can't collaborate with them if you're competing with them. So competition kills collaboration. It breeds dissatisfaction and happiness. We need to stay focused on our goals, and we need to focus on our own aspirations and just stay focused on it. So I think those are the tools that I'm going to leave you with. All in all, my message to you is that in order for you or me to maximize our potential and to achieve our biggest goals, we need to discover who we are. We need to go within. We need to discover our talents, our gifts, our skills. We need to discover, even some of the challenges that we've gone through. And we need to say to ourselves, how can we serve with this gift? And who can we serve with this gift? Because it's in serving others that we ultimately find fulfillment. We don't find fulfillment by being selfish. We've been placed on this earth for a reason. And the reason we've been placed is to serve. So whatever challenge you've been through, there's somebody else that can benefit from that, from your experience, from all the lessons that you've learned. And in all of that, we need to shift our mindset. We need to understand that there's fear attached to every next level. And we need to be prepared to win that war against our mind by thinking big with a lot of tools that I've given you and facing our fears, stepping into our fears, committing to our goals, and being consistent in our actions and surrounding ourselves with the right community of people. I think I'll stop there. Thank you, Dr. Karen.
Awesome. I have a page full of notes here because I turned into the student learning from the teacher. And so I am so excited. A couple of questions I have for you just based off of what you said. Um, how important is commitment when you don't fully have all of the information as to what, what path you're trying to take? A lot of times we have our sights set on a dream job or entrepreneurship or some type of service, but we don't have all of the information. We only have partial of the information. And so how important is having all of the information before you commit to adding something to your goal list, your dream list, your to-do list, or something like that, because that can certainly impact our ability to accomplish what it is that we desire to do simply because we don't have all the information.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually believe that having all the information is a myth. It's not true. We can never
Okay.
have all the information. I always say you have to start from where you are. You have to believe that you are ready and you have to be ready to take the step. I also say that the lessons are in the action. The lessons are in the taking the action. If you don't take any step, you're never going to learn anything that's going to open up the doors and opportunities for you to actually get to that goal. So you can be committed without having all the information. You can say, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. This is how, you may not know how to do it, but you know what you want to do. You may not know the how. And I feel like the how really begins to open up once you start to take the steps. And I'm one of those people that, cannot always figure out my 10-year goal. And people say, what's your 10-year goal? And what's your 5-year goal? Sometimes I honestly don't know. I know my 1-year goal.
Mm-hmm.
My 1-year goal, and I've written it down and I've broken it down into steps and a monthly step, a monthly plan. This is what I'm going to do every month. And what I've realized over time is once I step into my 1-year goal, guess what? My 2-year goal, my 3-year goal begins to open up for me. It begins to become visible to me. So we can be committed without knowing, without having all the information.
I love that. I love that. And let's talk about competition. So you mentioned competition. I am one of the people who talk about collaboration over competition. But is there ever an occasion where competition is healthy? And if so, what example is can you give us an example of healthy competition? Because I have heard those two terms together. Healthy competition, meaning that there is some benefit for that. I just want your thoughts on where you can see that in our lives and where we would benefit from it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Healthy competition. I guess when I think about that, I think of it in terms of I have a mentor that used to say, you can be a copycat as long as you're copying the right cat. So, so if you see somebody doing something that you're doing, you can copy them. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that's a competition, but if I see you, Dr. Karen, doing things that I want to do, I can take notes and say, Dr. Karen is doing this and that and that. And so I'm going to follow in those footsteps. I'm going to do exactly what she's doing. I'm going to copy her because I know that's going to get me to where I'm going because I see her in those places where I want to go. So, I don't know if that's competition, but I know that part is healthy. And for sure, it allows me to copy the right cat.
And I like that because that kind of marries the self-talk that you touched on. And so if you're talking to yourself, if you are copying the right cat, then you're obviously you have some positive talk that is going on. The fact that you are copying someone, whatever their action plan is, their elevation of how they got to wherever they're going or how they're doing certain things. So there has to be some positive talk associated with that
Mhm.
copying, as opposed to the negative talk which you mentioned, to replace the negative talk with the positive talk. So I love that, and I have a whole page of notes here, so yeah, I was listening. I love that. So this has been wonderful. Of course, we're going to post your full bio, and so I want you to just share with the sister leaders community how they can connect with you online, even though your bio will be posted. And if you have anything coming up, or if you want to go ahead and promote, you mentioned your book, where they can get your book from, that will be great as well.
Yes, I'm definitely on IG under Dr. Adebola Ajao, so you can find me there. I post my Monday motivations, my Thankful Thursday. I practice what I preach. My book is online on Amazon, Amazon.com. Just put Empowered Woman, 5 principles for living your best life and fulfilling your potential. You can just put Empowered Woman, put Ajao, my last name. I think I'm the only one there with that last name and that book title. So you can find me there. Definitely, you can find me on my website, www.empoweringinitiatives.net. I post a lot of what I do on my website. When I get publications or I get my book gets featured in different publications, that's on there. When I do podcasts like this, I put it on there because then people can always go back and look at it. And there's a link from my website to my YouTube channel that houses all my podcasts and all this conversations, lovely conversations lovely empowering conversations that we have, and I think are very necessary to have. Yeah.
That is wonderful. So I'm going to let you close us out with a quote from you. So I want you to share with us a quote from you.
A quote from me.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'm not sure if it's a quote, but I someone asked me this not too long ago, and this was what came to me. And it is that you should find your own niche. Find your own niche. It's about your gift and show up for yourself.
Find your own niche and show up for yourself. Well, you've heard it, and I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. So this has been wonderful. Make sure that you connect with Dr. Ajao, and we will have another sister leader guest expert. Be on the lookout for another sister leaders guest expert. But I would say look at this recording again because you may have. I took a lot of notes here. You may have missed something. So make sure that you listen to the recording again and connect with Dr. Ajao. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
Bye.
Karen.